What's up, y'all? I'm Greg, one half of North of 64. We recently just released a single called Lazy. We released it alongside a music video shot by our good friend Lucas Mora of Spilt Milk TV. And we just kind of wanted to put out a breakdown to show you our production and writing process usually when we're putting out a song, but for this song in particular, for Lazy. So I hope that if you're a music producer, or songwriter, or creative in general, you can take something away from this. If not, hopefully you just enjoy seeing our process and how we do things. For any other music producers or creators, songwriters, etc., we'd love to hear your process too. So please leave a comment. Just let us know how you go about doing these things. If you have any suggestions that you think could work for us, we're open to any suggestions, and we're always open to hear other people's ideas and see their process. So we'll dive in. So whenever we start making a song, generally what would happen is myself or Darren, who is the other half of North of 64, will come up with a chord progression or some sort of guitar lick. So for Lazy in particular, this was the chord progression that we came up with. So we started with this chord progression, and then from there we always kind of just noodle around on guitar and find licks that we think might work with this chord progression. So sometimes the licks that we'll play and record over top of the chord progression isn't necessarily on the forefront of the track. Like sometimes it will be an ambient piece that kind of sits in the background just for like an atmospheric kind of feel. And that was the case with this lick here, which I will isolate so you can hear it first. So as you can hear with that lick, it's not like the most organized or even well played guitar riff. But when we played it, when we were kind of jamming here and we played it over the chords, like it just felt like it worked, and we felt like that's something we could kind of put in the background of the track to add some texture and just add to the atmosphere of it. So this is how it sounds with the guitar chords. As you can hear, it's definitely laid back in the track. It's not on the forefront by any means, but I mean we thought it worked in this situation, so we tried it out and we were happy with that result. One other thing with the guitars is for the left and right, this isn't just the same waveform copy and paste it over. We record both the left and right guitar separately so you can actually get a true stereo image. What we do is we pan each guitar hard left and hard right, so then it just kind of it opens up the stereo image and gives you more of a spacey feel to those guitars. So generally after we lay the guitars down, what we will do is kind of mess around on keys and find something that works there. Sometimes we use piano, sometimes we use electric keys. In this case, something we use a lot, quite often, is a harp. We just love the digital harp sounds. We use Massive. They have a nice selection of harps just on their stock presets. So next we lay down a harp and a pad, which sound like this. So again, that's just kind of adding to the space and to the frequency spectrum of this intro that we're putting together. So especially the pad. I mean, the pad's great for kind of filling up space, and also we widen our pads so take up more of the stereo space as well. So what we did next is added this kind of wobble droning bass. So we only had this play for the first 4 bars of the intro, and then after that we switch over to the 808, and the 808 is going to be utilized throughout all the verses in the song, just to give that like hard hitting low end that you'll hear in pretty much any hip hop song. And this is what that 808 sounds like. So that overall is how we put together the intro for this song. So just so you can hear that all together, this is it. So that is the intro for the song. So from there we dive into the verse. And what we did on the guitars, just to kind of give us a transition into the verse, is on these left and right guitars here, the chord progression, we use a tape stop effect at the end of it, the last like half bar of it. Sounds like this. So it just slows things down and adds a nice transition and kind of just changes things up heading into the verse. So in the verse we dropped the pad just to add some different dynamic to it. We just didn't want to have all of the same sounds throughout the entire song, because we're already going to have the guitar as a constant from all the way from the intro to the end of the song. So we drop the pad out, and of course we bring in drums here, which is always the most fun to put together. I love doing drums. It's one of my favorite things to lay down on any track. So for this track specifically, we used Somatics drum kit. I love their sounds. I believe they have some free sounds up on their website, so you can Google that. Just Google Somatics, and I'm sure you'll find it. And as you can see, it's a very simple drum pattern. We didn't try to overdo it. We tried to just stay as simple as possible, and we feel that for this track it worked. I mean, this is what the drums sound like on their own. So again, it's super simple. Literally all we're using is the 808 kick, snare, and hi-hats. And for the snare, we used 3 different sounds to kind of layer it. So we used a clap sound and 2 different snare sounds from a somatic kit. And then that just beefs up the snare and gives you a strong, impactful hit when you need it for those snare shots. And then you'll see for this snare down here, it's also layered for the main snare sound, but we added some extra shots in and around the verse just to give more of a dynamic, moving feel to it, and it really does help the drums move along with the hi-hats. So what you'll see for the drums, we actually just drag in audio files for our kicks and snares and perks for the most part. But when it comes to hi-hats, we will use, generally we'll use MIDI for that, and the reason we do that, I'll open the MIDI editor. There's a few reasons we do this. So it allows us to change the different velocities of the hi-hats. So I'll actually play these out on a keyboard, and however I naturally hit the keys per hi-hat hit, that's what we'll generally use, because it's not going to be just one straight velocity the whole way through. So you can see down here the velocity bars that you can use to either add more or take away velocity. So we find this just gives a more natural feel to the hi-hats, opposed to having all of the velocities the same, which I'll do right here. So when all the velocities are the same, it sounds very robotic, like this. And then have different velocities here. You can tell, I mean, even specifically on the rolls, you can tell that it's just not as robotic. It gives it more of a natural feel. So another reason we like using MIDI for hi-hats is because it allows us to do these rolls quicker, in our opinion. I mean, some people might like using audio to do that opposed to MIDI, which is totally fine. It also allows us to pitch them a lot easier instead of having to click on each audio file and go into Elastic Audio and pitch them that way, or using a pitch plugin. Here we can literally just draw hi-hats in wherever we'd like, put them on any note we like, and pitch them that way. So that's just a quick little breakdown on how we do hi-hats and why we do them that way. So yeah, I mean, that's the verse of the track. Altogether, this is what that sounds like. So now we have our intro and verse laid down. You'll see here that this is verse 1 and here's verse 1B. It's literally the exact same thing, except for we added that guitar lead that I played earlier that's kind of sitting in the background. And we also had this quick little 1 bar vocal break at the beginning. So I'll bring the vocals in so you can hear that. So this just kind of differentiates the verse. Instead of having the exact same 16 bars, we just put something in the middle just to kind of break it up and let that one line in the vocal breathe a bit there. And then we have these snare shots right here, right at the end, just to get like that little bit of impact right before the verse comes back in. So when the second part of the verse comes back in, when verse 1B comes back in, now we have those guitar licks sitting in the background, as well as that pad, which is going to help add more to the frequency spectrum and just kind of fill things up a little more. So from there, we have our chorus, and you'll see that there's like almost no drums here. We've taken out all the drums that we used in the verse. And we also, I mean, we even took out the 808s, and we brought that wobble drone bass back from the intro. And it's literally the pad, the main guitar chords, that drone bass, and then these new perks which we introduced down here. It's literally just one perk, one drum perk, and we just messed around with it. You can see that we chopped it up in Pro Tools, and we kind of manipulated it so that we actually reversed some parts on it and just kind of added its own rhythm with this one perk, and this is what it sounds like by itself. Of course, you can hear we added some reverb there. We used Sound Toys Little Plate for that. It's something we love using. We use on all our vocals, guitars, snares a lot too. So yeah, the chorus is literally just this one perk, and then some of the earlier elements that we put in, and this is how the chorus sounds. It's a dream that I've been calling for. It ain't never breaking up the phone, but maybe I'm just never going to know. You can tell that I'm exhausted, but you know that I ain't sleeping today. So from that chorus, we go right back into the verse, which we stick with for 8 bars there. And then after the verse, instead of going back into the chorus, we decided it just felt right to go into a bridge here. And we kind of wanted a quick song. We didn't want a terribly long song here, so we knew that going right into a bridge instead of doing a chorus and then a bridge after the second verse would help move things along the way we wanted them to. So for the bridge, Darren played these guitar licks, a bit of a guitar solo, over the chord progression that's been playing as a constant throughout this track, and this is how that sounds. So that's the guitars in the bridge, and basically what we did in terms of the low end is we just did the same structure as the intro of the song, which was that wobbly, drony synth bass for the first 4 bars, and then the 808 for the second 4 bars. And then we also reintroduced the claps into the next 4 bars there. So that's pretty much a song. From there we go back into the chorus, which we went over earlier, and then the outro, which is essentially just the verse with no vocals on top. So yeah, I mean that's a breakdown of our song Lazy, which of course you can check out the music video on this channel, which we just released today, Friday, March 27th. Yeah, I mean I hope you guys liked the video. I hope there's something you can take away from this. Or you just enjoy seeing our process. We're considering putting out some more YouTube content and also doing some live beat making sessions and whatnot. With the current situation of the world right now with COVID-19, we are exploring some options on us getting live on camera through like Zoom meetings or something similar, and seeing if we can make a live session happen through that. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully that's something we can make happen. So you should see that come along shortly after this video is posted. So yeah, just let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions about this process. If there's anything else you would like to see on this channel in terms of production, songwriting, mixing, but I'd love to do some mixing tutorials. Let me know if there's anything specific you want to see. Let me know what your process is, and of course feel free to reach out. Always open to hearing what other creators, what tools they use and how they go about their production. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Like and subscribe to the channel, and check out North of 64 on whatever streaming service you like to use. Thanks.